Each week, I host 1 or 2 forums in the district on topics vital to your life. Here is a tape of one of those forums.
So I'm going to talk to you today about fall prevention. So just a little bit about fall prevention. So 1 in 4 older adults, that's anybody over the age of 65, will fall every year. 1 in 5 falls results in an injury, and so what we really try to do is we try to prevent them as much as possible, and we would like to mitigate your risk factors as best as we can. So some risk factors are what we consider modifiable and some are not. So something that you could modify would be your home safety, medications, your physical activity, and things like that. And then there are certain risk factors that we would include that you can't do anything about, so you just have to navigate them as best you can. So 25% of older adults who fall and break their hip will unfortunately die within the year. So the fear of falling is not unfounded and it's not without warrant. So understanding what you can do is really what I try to highlight. The medical costs that are associated with falling add up to about $34 billion a year. So it's a huge financial burden on the individual and on the society as a whole because of the medical costs associated that are typically billed to Medicare. So the first thing that you want to do to eliminate your risk of falling is to recognize your risk. So what we would do is we would ask all of the older adults to ask themselves the following questions. Have you fallen in the last year? Yes or no. If you haven't fallen in the last year, great. If you have, this would be something that we would really encourage you to speak with your physician about. Okay. Do you have difficulty getting out of a chair? It's very common as people age that they have to do the rocking motion when they get out of a chair. So do you have that kind of a difficulty? Do you feel unsteady or shaky on your feet when you stand up? Do you take any medications? So medications are often overlooked as a very common risk factor for falling. Anything more than 4 medications would dramatically increase your risk of falling. But that includes over-the-counter medications, that includes your baby aspirins, that includes your vitamins, all of your herbal supplements, and then as well as all of your prescription medications. So you want to make sure you count all of those in your medications. Do you ever feel dizzy when you get up? So do you get lightheaded? Do you get the woozy black spots when you stand up? So are you having what we would call orthostatic hypotension? So is your blood pressure dropping when you get up? And then do you have trouble with your vision, right? Do you have glaucoma, cataracts, diabetic retinopathy, anything like that? These are very common older adult eye ailments that increase your risk of falling. So what we really want to do is modify the risk factors that most commonly influence somebody's risk of falling. And since most falls we know happen at home, we want to make sure that your home environment is safe as possible. So making sure that you have proper lighting, all right? Not just increasing the wattage of the bulb, making sure that you have more lights around the room. Make sure that you have photosensitive night lights or motion sensitive night lights so that you're not having to turn on a light because it takes longer for your eyes to adjust to the light as you get older. Making sure that your walkways are free and clear of clutter. It's very easy to put the little basket on the hallway where you collect your magazines or your shoes or your umbrellas, but they also become tripping hazards, so making sure that you are navigating that situation as best as you can. Then in the bathrooms are a very dangerous place. While the number of falls that occur there is actually quite low because you spend not that much time in there, they are often the most injurious falls. So making sure that you have non-slip rugs in your tub and in your outside of your tub, that you have properly installed grab bars. Very often we see on commercials and in CVS and things like that, they have suction cup grab bars, and those are very, very dangerous because the suction cups get loose and then you would pull them and then you would maybe further injure yourself because of a fall. And then using raised toilet seats, shower seats as necessary, okay? So a lot of people who have maybe an older home have a really low toilet seat. Their toilet is very low, so if you can financially afford to change out the toilet, okay, to get one that has a higher seat, that is great. Or using one of the plastic raised toilet seats over it would be a great way to navigate that kind of a risk factor. So other things that we like to talk about are making sure that you don't use area rugs, all right? I know that a lot of people have hardwood floors in their homes, so getting rid of all the area rugs is not a realistic alternative. However, using things that would be that would keep the area rubbed down, whether you tape it, you use a non-slip underlayment, or you tack it to the ground. Those are all alternatives. Making sure that the edges of your stairs, both inside and out, are very clearly marked, particularly outside where shadows and things come into play with handrails. You would want to make sure that you can very clearly see where the edge of your stair is, because again, as we age, we're not able to see that contrast as well. Keeping all of your wires free and clear of anywhere that you would be traveling. So as we can see, we have a nice tripping hazard going right over here, even though it's tucked down. That would be a prime example of something that you would want to avoid. Okay, other things that you want to do, make sure that your railings are secured both inside and outside. Outside railings a lot of times tend to get a little wobbly, so making sure that those are nice and secure. If you can have a handrail on both sides of your stairs, that would be great, because a lot of times people have a good leg or a bad leg and they need to go up and down the stairs with the same leg, which then means they need to have the handrail on the same or opposite sides. So having it on both sides, cleaning up your spills immediately, just very common things, and then asking for help with difficult tasks. I actually had a lady in one of my fall prevention classes who was talking to me, and she was like, oh, well, I rotated my mattress last week, and she had this big, huge queen mattress, and I was like, no. I was like, that's a task that you ask for help for. You don't try to do that on your own, because what if something happens, okay? She's like, but nothing happened. And I say, but what if? There's always that what if, and if you can mitigate your risk, okay, and get rid of it, better. So vision is another really big reason why an older adult might fall. So we all get used to having not quite perfect vision, okay, whether it's through the use of having glasses and they're not very clean, or they're not having an up-to-date prescription, or whether you have an eye ailment like cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration. All right, they're very slow developing ailments that you might not even realize that you have until they're really drastically affecting your vision. So making sure that you have an annual eye exam at the bare minimum, asking if you have any medical issues that would affect your vision, or if any of the medications that you're taking for a medical issue would affect your vision. That's another very common thing. We see the stickers on the side of the bottle that say that you know, this could give you blurry vision or could make you dizzy. So what we often like to say is, if your medication says be careful while driving, we also want you to think of that as be careful while walking.
Excuse me, Catherine?
Yep.
He wants to know, did you hook up your own computer?
I did.
Try plugging in, plugging in.
It's okay. Either way, we've gotten this far. So making sure that you're using your bifocals or progressive lenses appropriately. So a lot of people have bifocals, progressive lenses, trifocals, and those types of things. Making sure that you're looking through the correct part of the lens is very, very important. Oftentimes people who have bifocals and trifocals and progressives, as they're walking downstairs, they'll be looking through the wrong part of the lens, and so that will make the staircase actually very blurry and distorted, which then increases their risk. So our vision specialist who comes to the programs actually just recommends removing your glasses altogether when you're walking up and down stairs if you are in that kind of a situation, because then it's just a uniform level of blurry rather than being awkwardly distorted. Okay, so learn something new, right? So footwear safety is another reason why people fall. Wearing improper footwear, so wearing high heels, backless shoes, something that has a really slippery sole on it, flip-flops in the summer, sandals, anything like that really increases your risk of falling. As much as we love to wear our flip-flops and things like that, anything that's backless, I automatically say is a no. You should not be wearing it, and that includes your slippers. Anything that has like a leather sole, typically men's dress shoes often have leather soles, and so those are very, very slippery. So what we do want you to wear, we want you to wear something that has a thin, flexible sole, and it's something that you can easily walk in. The extra thick soles make it more difficult to feel the uneven terrain underneath your foot. So a running shoe is not a walking shoe. Okay, so unless you're running, you don't need to have a running shoe. You can just use a walking shoe. So things like loafers, sneakers, non-skid, no friction walking shoes, and then completely forget about ever wearing high heels, extra thin soles, anything backless, slides, any of that. We really try to persuade people as much as we can to use another type of footwear, because it causes shuffling, which leads to falling. Okay, so there are really common foot ailments. So if you do have any of these, like lack of feeling, tingling, arthritis, nail problems, that includes fungus, any kind of muscles weakness, bunions, corns, calluses, and toe deformities, they all can increase your risk of falling. So if you do have any of those, consider speaking with a pediatrist, or at least your general physician, about what you can do to ease some of that. Like I said before, medication is another reason why people fall. So knowing your medications, I have 10 steps for success when it comes to medication. Knowing your medication is always number one. And then knowing what your medication is for is number two, okay? Because a lot of times medications can be used to treat more than one type of medical condition, and if we don't know what you're taking it for, then we don't know what the effects of it would be on your body. Like, so high blood pressure medications can often be used to treat a multitude of different things, but they also are going to be affecting your blood pressure, okay? Taking all of your medications as directed. Reading all of your medication labels and your warnings, so you're taking them appropriately, whether that's you're not allowed to take it with grapefruit juice, or that you have to, I'm way over time, or that you have to take it at night, or avoid eating leafy greens when you take it, those types of things. Making sure that you are only taking the medications that are for you. Checking your expiration dates, only using one pharmacy or one pharmacy chain, because that can lead to more than one pharmacy, or more than one pharmacy chain can lead to having counter interactions with medication. So if you take a medication that this pharmacy doesn't know about, it might interact with another medication that you're taking. Asking your pharmacist about any interactions about over-the-counter medications and how they might affect your prescription medications. And then, of course, calling your doctor if you have any kind of problems in regards to side effects and everything that would make you increase your risk of falling. And then last but not least, make sure that you keep a current list of all of your medications. So in everyone's chair, there was some fall prevention documents in there. One of them is a how-to on how to get up after a fall. So should you fall, because we are realists, we know that falls do happen, even though we try to prevent them as much as we can. So we have a step-by-step on how to safely get up from a fall should you fall in your packet there. Okay, and then what can you do? So as an older adult, you would want to take advantage of the services that are available to you, like taking a Tai Chi class, yoga class, stepping on, Otago. These are all community-based fall prevention programs that you could take. Talk to your doctor. Very often a general doctor doesn't talk to their patients about have they fallen and what their risk of falling is. So we encourage you to open that conversation with your doctor first. Be your own best health advocate. No one's going to fight for your health the way that you're going to fight for it. And then be aware of your surroundings. And then I just have 3 rules for life to prevent falls, and that's no rushing, no shuffling, and no plopping, because all 3 of those things can increase your risk of falling.
What was the last one?
Wait,
Plopping.
what's plopping?
You guys don't know what plopping is? So plopping is when you get into the chair and you just go into the chair, because it can cause microfractures in your spine, and then can also cause hunching as those microfractures keep getting worse. So no plopping, no rushing, no shuffling, and no plopping, because those 3 things will reduce your risk of falling. Didn't know about the plopping. All right. So now we have Cynthia. She's going to talk to you about pedestrian safety.
Just to follow up on what Catherine was talking about, not all falls occur in the house or home. And a perfect example, and this just occurred in our office day before yesterday, one of the gentlemen who works with us got a telephone call from the New York City Police Department to inform him that his mother they found his mother in the street. They didn't know if she'd been hit by a car or if she fell. She's in her late 80s. She was by herself. Fortunately, she had some ID on her that they were able to get in touch with him. She got very dizzy. She was actually coming from a doctor's appointment. And it was Brooklyn, it was busy, so somebody helped her right away. But she didn't break a hip, her hip didn't break, and then she fell. She fell because she got dizzy, and she fell on her face. And she was carrying things in both hands, which if you're out walking, so many of us, you know, we have shopping carts, we have umbrellas if we think it's going to rain. We have all these different things. Well, when you were a little kid and you ran and you fell on your hands or your knees. They took the brunt of the fall. If your hands are full, you can't catch yourself when you go to fall. So that's one of the reasons like that this poor lady fell on her face. So it's something to think about. But how do all of you still drive? Yes. So you drove here. All right, I'm assuming that most of the time when you go any place, especially around here since it isn't the city, you do drive. But when you get out of that car, you're a pedestrian. Before you get in the car, you're a pedestrian. So there's a lot of things that you really need to think about. Parking lots in particular are real hazards to pedestrians because for some reason, even though most of the newer cars now have backup cameras in them, you have to realize that the line of vision from the backup camera is immediately behind. So if a person is to your left or to your right and walking through that parking lot, I'm speaking of yourself too, the person behind the wheel of the car doesn't see you until you're directly in their line of vision. So you must be very, very careful of moving vehicles in a parking lot. Always err on the side of caution and let the car go, or try to make eye contact with the driver. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. If the weather is inclement and dreary, I know this is not something you'll probably normally think about, but if you have on something that's brighter colored, not black like I'm wearing, but something brighter, even if you put a decal or a sticker on the bags that you carry, or use a bag that's a bright color, like your shopping bag or your bag that your extra bag you might be carrying, because that makes you much more visible to a motorist. The best thing to do if you're actually going out and walking, it's very good exercise, and especially as you get older, and that helps your balance and it builds your muscles, and it really improves your health to a great deal. So I would encourage you to walk, and if possible, always go with somebody. I know that's not always the way, but if you can walk with somebody, it's safer, and if anything happens to you, there's somebody else there. Walking clubs are great if you could find one, or if, when you talk about the different kind of exercise programs. I don't have a flash drive. Mine never works, so. Anyway, just like indoors, your vision has a lot to do with it. As we age, our peripheral vision comes in a little closer. We don't have we have to turn our heads more. So when you're ready to cross the street, you really should practice more turning your head to both sides, which sometimes if we have arthritis in our neck, it becomes very hard to do. But you have to scan for traffic. The most crashes to pedestrians, most injuries occur at intersections with left-hand turning vehicles. So Nassau County has begun to be a little bit more aggressive with the pedestrian safety, and the state in particular on Hempstead Turnpike put in all of the traffic signals that now count down so you know how long you have to cross the street, and they have put up no rights on red, which is a big help to pedestrians, because all those cars that are making those rights on red seem to think they have the right of way regardless, and some of them don't stop at all. They just look and nothing's coming and they just make the right. So that's all meant to help you. And I have a little card here that we actually put out. It just says pay attention, and it's a Nassau County traffic safety. But if you want to cross the street and you want to have the most amount of time to cross the street, you must push that button. Because if you don't, you will never get the walk light. The light will change, for the motorist. He'll see that the light is green, but you won't see a walk signal. You must push the button to get the walk light, and it gives you a little bit of extra time to actually cross the street. So it's there for your protection. A lot of people don't believe they work, but they do. And if they're not working, you should report them. I found out the hard way. I was in Garden City, and I happen to live in Queens, so in Queens the buttons don't work on any of the lights. I mean, they haven't worked in years. The new ones don't even have them. But I'm crossing Franklin Avenue, which is a very, very busy street. It's where all the county offices are. And I'm standing there and nothing's happening. The light turns green and I'm waiting and the arrow for the other cars, but nothing happens. I'm still standing there and I said, dummy, push the button. So after that, I got a cross light. But it's true of all the streets. And the newer lights that they're putting in, as I said, they all have countdowns. It tells you how long it takes. If you find that you walk often and you're in an area where the street is too wide and you cannot make it in the 12 seconds or 15 seconds or 20 seconds that it allows you to cross, you should report it. And I would, if you belong to an organization, I would tell you to have the organization report it. It carries more weight. But you have to let people know, otherwise we can't fix it. And it's hard because we're an aging population as a whole. We have way more seniors than what we had 30 years ago. People are living longer. People want to exercise, they want to get outdoors. You live on Long Island where there's a lot to do outdoors. So it's really important. And there's a policy in place that says that when streets are redone and roads are redone, they're supposed to take into account the needs of all users. So not just the cars, but it's walkers, it's bikers, it's anybody who uses that road, share the road, and it makes the road safer, and it makes it safer for pedestrians, and it slows down traffic. If you're out walking and a car is limited, and I'm not saying that they abide by this, but the speed limit is 30 and you're struck by a car, you have a chance of surviving. For every 10 miles over that speed limit, your chances of survival decrease. And as we age, our chances of survival decrease because we're more fragile, and it just takes so much longer to heal. What took a month when you were 20 takes 3 months when you're 70. So, it's the kind of thing you should take into account. And otherwise, I would really recommend that you walk. Plan your route. If you know, I don't know where you live, but let's say you live close enough to walk to a shop, or you go out with a shopping cart or to a grocery store. Think about the safest way. Crosswalks are striped the way they're striped because that's the safest way to cross the street. It may not be the shortest, and I know in the county, traffic signals on some roads are very far apart. So you would cross, where they would say, all right, she's crossing in the middle, but the middle is really a mile because you don't have a signal, any place to cross by. So just, it's the old thing, look right, look left, look right again before you cross, and just be careful. Be careful stepping off the curb. And again, your footwear. I don't think sneakers are okay. Most of you, what you're wearing is fine. But, and in the winter, you should be very careful. If it's slippery, maybe you would err on the side of caution. And I don't know how good people are about cleaning sidewalks or whatever, but it's obviously you have to be more careful when the weather's bad because it is slippery and the visibility of you to the motorist is not as good. That's the most important thing, is that you be seen. So, like I said before, try to remember to wear light colored clothing or put something on that's reflective. Excuse me. I don't actually have anything, but this is a seat. You see how this is bright colored on there? It doesn't even have to be big. If you just put it on your bag, it could be a little sticker or a clip-on. And put 2 or 3 of them on. We tell anybody that rides a bike to do the same thing. Make sure they have plenty of reflectors so that you're visible to the motorist. And really, that's about it. Plan your route. Walk in groups if possible. Know where it's safe to cross. That's the most important thing. Knowledge is the most important thing. And we do tend to shuffle. I don't know if you even are aware of it. I'm not aware of it in the house at all, but I do realize it because I do walk. And it gets harder and harder as we age to pick up our feet. So you have to actually consciously think about it, otherwise you tend to go like this. So that's when the sidewalks are in poor condition, it's very easy to trip. So, that's the other place that your shoes come in. So that's about it. Thank you.
All right. Everybody here said that you drove here today, yes? Yes. All right. So I'm here from AAA, and I'm going to talk to you about some driving things that I don't want to say this is going to change your life, but it's going to change your life. When you get in the car, what we find is that I'm going to talk about this program called CarFit. And it's a two-part thing. We're going to tell you what we're doing today, but we're also having an event here next week where you're going to come in with your car. And you're going to sit in your car, and our technicians, everybody here who's sitting at this table is a technician. We have a few more people coming in. And there are things in your car that you can adjust that a lot of people don't have any idea that you can adjust so you can see out of your car better. At AAA, we want you to stay driving as long as possible because we know once you have to give up the keys, if that's something that's off in the future, that's a part of your independence that goes. And maybe you have older parents, and once we don't want to get to that point. We want everybody to see out of their car better. We find that a lot of people, if you buy a new car, the dealer says, "Here's the keys. Here's your car. Bye." And then you go, and then you're like, oh, there's a lot of things you can adjust. Or if you have an older car, there are definitely things we can do to help you see better. So when you come in with your car, we're going to look at 12 different things plus a few extras. From how high are you sitting? Do you have enough clearance over your steering wheel? And a lot of people don't. You see a lot of people driving this way, behind their wheel. Well, we want you to have at least 3 inches of clearance over your wheel. So if we stand in front of your car, I should be able to look right at you and I should be able to see your mouth or your chin from in front of the car. And again, a lot of times I only see people's nose. I might see their eyes. And there are things that we can do. So most of your vehicles have an adjuster that you can raise the seat up. In many cars, most people know how to move the seat forward and back. And most people know how to adjust their rear view mirror, and those are the only things they adjust, ever. We're going to look at your head restraint. We're going to look at your tilt wheel. We're going to look at your side mirrors, and that's where a lot of people go like, they didn't realize how much of a blind space they have. We're driving around, a lot of people are driving around not realizing that they have that much blind space. But the number one cause of crash, first is distracted driving. There's nothing we're going to do about that today. But the number 2 cause is that having that blind space, merging from one lane to another. And a lot of people, maybe they look out their window, maybe they look over here, but they're not using their side mirrors properly. So we're going to show you how to do that. We're also going to look at if maybe, everybody here looks like you're pretty tall. This is a pretty tall group, but a lot of times we get petite people, but I'm looking right at you because you look like you're maybe the same height as me. Maybe in your car, we can't make those adjustments. There's something that you still can't see over your wheel high enough. So we have a team of occupational therapists who come in, and we have a pile of tools, excuse me as I go over here, that might help even further, such as something like this. Now, this is a pretty easy item. They sell this in Bed Bath & Beyond for 20 bucks. I don't know if I can say that on the thing. What this is it's raised at the back, it's tapered at the leg, and it's designed specifically for your car. It's got a cutout over here for spinal support so that if you have any kind of issues with your back or whatever, it's very comfortable. But it's not going to, when you're sitting on this, it raises you up this much. It's a lot. But your steering wheel is not going to hit your legs because this is tapered at the bottom. So we bring these tools with us so you could try them. You don't have to buy anything. We're not selling anything. We're just showing you, it's an educational program to show you things that you can do. We just had an event last week on Tuesday in New Hyde Park. We did 30 cars. Every single person made changes in their cars that when they left, they were like, even the seatbelt. We had quite a few seatbelt adjustments. Your seatbelt adjusts. Some people don't use their seatbelt because they're like, oh, it's cutting into my neck. And again, that's usually a small person problem. Small person. If you're sitting too short in the seat, the seatbelt is going to, or if it's up too high, it's going to cut across your neck. So you're going to say, I'm not using that seatbelt. But we know that seatbelts save lives, and we want you to use it. So right on the door frame, you squeeze it, you push it, there's a button, it slides down. So it's right on your shoulder. So we're going to show you how to do that. Now, we also had a car on Tuesday that it was molded into the head restraint, and she couldn't move it, and she had some issues. We can't fix every single thing. We can't fix a mechanical thing on your car. But if there's something that we can do, that's why it's individualized. That's why we're going to take appointments for it. It takes 20 to 30 minutes because it's very individualized to your car. We're also going to show you how to check your tire pressure, because your tires are the most important part of your car. That's what makes contact with the ground. But I'm going to ask for everybody here, when's the last time you checked your tire pressure? Never! Dude, yay! So here's the thing, I don't want you to wait until the light comes on, because when the light comes on, you're already 25% too low. That's really low. And it can, when it goes down that low, you have run a serious risk of a blowout or something happening to your car, because it's not right. So we want to make sure, we encourage people to check the tire pressure once a month. Do I check my tire pressure once a month? No. But I do check it periodically, and not just when I bring it to the mechanic. So we're going to give you a tire. You get a goodie bag with all kinds of stuff in it. And you know what, Cindy? I'm going to throw in some reflective bracelets, so that if you're a walker, we have those as well. They're not usually in the CarFit bags, but we're going to put them in for this one. But you're going to get a tire pressure gauge. So we're going to show you how to do one tire. And we're going to show you how to check the treads, because that also, when we trained our technicians, the last training that I did, we used their cars as a sample, and the one girl, her tires were bald, and she's like, I think you're gonna have a problem with my tires. And I said, yes. So we used that as an example to show the technicians, this is gonna just slide on the road. So she said, yeah, her mechanic told her she needed new tires. So we all said, yes, you need new tires. Again, there's different things that we can do. Tires are expensive, but we want to know that you know how to do it. So we'll check all your tires. You're going to show us, we're going to check one together, and we'll check all the rest. It's a great program. But again, everybody who comes in, it's not just for seniors. We booked this program today for grandparents, but it's definitely for everybody. When I train our technicians, most of the technicians are occupational therapy students, they're college students, they're of multiple different kind of ages, but every single person who does it, including myself, will like, oh, I need to move this, I need to move this, I need to move this, so I have a better fit in my car. And you're gonna drive out of the parking lot saying, wow, I had no idea that it could be that much better. I guarantee everybody, every now and then you get somebody who comes through who's got everything and they're like a know-it-all. But most people that do it definitely make some changes in their vehicle. We want to keep you driving longer. I do have other tools, things that we have. People, again, don't have. Everybody here looks like they're doing okay, but maybe if people have issues getting out of the car, we're going to show you that this is a handy bar. When you open up the door, there's a bracket. This fits perfectly into that bracket, because again, sometimes we see people, when we're asking you to get out to check your tires with us, we're looking to see how you're getting out of the car. Are you climbing out? Are you doing all kinds of... We want it to be easy. This is difficult, and if you pull on the door or even on the frame, the door can close on your hands. I don't want that to happen. So this goes into the bracket. You can push yourself out of the car. It's a much easier movement. This also is a window punch, or if your passenger is being a pain, you can just give them a little clock on the head. All right? It's a seatbelt cutter. If somebody didn't use their seatbelt because they couldn't reach it, we have mobility issues. This actually fits around the seatbelt and it stays there. So instead of having to reach over here, I only have to reach over here and I can buckle in a little easier. All right? If you were having difficulty, and again, we had a gentleman the other day who, the leg movements, again, were challenging. And you might have seen this. A lot of people use this in the house to get out of a chair easy, out of bed easy. It looks like one of those fake dog walkers. All right? It just goes under your foot. And when you raise it up, it's so much easier. So again, we'll have, and I have a whole bag. I have a lot more tools. I didn't want to bring them all today because I want there to be a little surprise on next week. If there's something that you need, we're going to show it to you, and we'll have a list of where you can get them. We don't sell them at our events because we don't want you to think you have to spend any money ever at one of our safety events. So this is, again, another nice item. I have an appointment sheet right over here because, again, it does take 20 to 30 minutes per car, depending on what we find. So before you leave today, make that appointment. And if you know somebody else who you think could benefit from it, and really everybody can, I'll give you a flyer that has the number to call. That's for our number at AAA. To call, and again, you don't have to be a member of AAA. It's open for everybody. We really want everybody on the road to be nice and safe. And again, we do find a lot of that. So I have an appointment sheet right over here. We'll make that appointment. I'll give you a confirmation thing so that you remember what time it is, and we're pretty good on that. And I did good. I did that.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm a little fast talker. Any questions on that? We're going to do it right in the parking lot in the back. We're going to section off a little area. We'll have some signs up. But again, if you know anybody else who would like to participate, please welcome. We like to be busy at those events. We don't like to stand around. So, good?
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm also a mover when I talk. My name is Jill. I am the Injury Prevention Coordinator at Cohen Children's Medical Center. So my role there is to come out into the community and give education to caregivers, parents, grandparents, and kids about how they can keep themselves safe. So as part of that role, I am a child passenger safety technician as well as an instructor for the class. So believe it or not, when it comes to car seats, there is a 4-day class to teach people how to use them. There are several fitting stations on Long Island, and really I recommend to parents and caregivers and grandparents to go to a fitting station to get their car seat checked. And the reason for that being, 9 out of 10 car seats are installed incorrectly. I do car seat checks at Cohen's once a month, and in all of my time doing it, I have seen one family come in with their seat properly installed. The manufacturers do not make this an easy task. So do we have a lot of grandparents, a lot of people with grandkids? Okay, great. Okay, so the way that you can use the car seats best is to go to a certified technician and have them teach you how to install your specific car seat. But before you get to that point, you have to buy the car seat, right? So some things to keep in mind for grandparents when you're buying car seats. In this little pamphlet, I'm not going to go through it all, but I have all of the guidelines for rear facing, so meaning that the seat faces the vehicle seat back, forward facing seats with a harness versus a booster seat. All of this gets into the specifics about the age range. Some things you want to keep in mind though. You want to purchase your car seats new. I know a lot of people will get hand-me-downs, or at least if you are getting a hand-me-down from someone, get it from somebody who's reliable. Never buy it at a garage sale. The reason for that being, you want to know your seat's history. You want to know if the seat's ever been involved in a crash. A lot of time manufacturers will say, each one has different standards, but they'll say if it was a crash over 25 miles an hour, the seat needs to be replaced. People may not realize that. If the airbags didn't deploy, they may not think about the strain on the harness and not realize that that harness is no longer safe. And to us, to the naked eye, the harness will look just the same as it did before the car crash. Same thing, if you have a child that gets sick, right? You have a baby, the baby's in the car seat, the baby throws up all over their clothes, all over the harness. What do parents do? They'll take the harness out, they'll take the clothes, they'll throw them through the wash, they'll throw them through the dryer, but what they don't realize is this harness is like a rubber band. If you run it through the dryer, it's affecting the integrity of it and how it will work in a car crash. They reroute it, it's fine, they don't get into a car crash, they never know that this harness is not working. Now they give you their seat that they only used for a year, and you have your grandchild in that seat, and you have no idea that that seat is unsafe. And they don't know that what they did is wrong, so they never told you. So just little things like that is why I strongly stress, especially to grandparents, to purchase the seats new or get it from somebody that you know so you can find out the detailed history. But if you have multiple grandkids, let's say you have 3 grandkids and they're varying from age 3 to 5. You don't ever travel with all 3 of them in your car, you have them at different times. You might want to think about getting a seat like this. This is a seat with an adjustable headrest, meaning you can come visit me at my fitting station, I can install this seat correctly, show you how to do it, and now you can adjust this seat based on the child's height. So for forward-facing seats, you want those straps to be at or above the shoulders. For rear-facing, you want them at or below. And again, when you go to a fitting station, they can go over all this education with you based on that child's height and weight. I have here my little doll. He's a 16-month-old, and really in any car seat, you want this harness clip to be across their chest, across their sternum, armpit level. That's really important because this clip is what's keeping these harness straps together. A Again, there's different types of harness straps. So we talked about this. It's nice and movable. It's very easy. So if you have a couple different kids, you might want to think about something like this. Some of them have straps that you can move up front like this. I'm able to move those straps up and down with ease, and I can leave the seat installed. And then you have some like this where they thread through, which is a little bit more difficult because you have to uninstall the seat. These will tend to cost you a little bit more, but they are a lot more easy for you to use. If you're suffering from arthritis and it's difficult for you, you may want to look at getting a car seat that has a latch system like this. Latch is in the vehicle seats. It's usually in the two outer boards in the back, and it's a great feature in cars, especially for grandparents who may not have the car seats installed all the time, because typically latches makes it much easier to install the car seat. But like I said, take your car and your car seat to a technician so they can explain to you how to best use it, because sometimes there are height and weight limits to that. But this is an easy latch system, something that you definitely want to consider looking at, because you just have to press, versus one like this. It's a little bit more difficult to get on and off of that latch bar. So just some things that you want to keep in mind. As far as booster seats go, really don't want any kids in here until they're at least 6 years old. What's best practice is to keep them in one of these as long as possible. But again, if you're not really driving the kids around that much and you have the 5-year-old hopping in and out of the booster seat and you have one of these without a back, you just want to make sure it has a headrest. Does anyone have any specific questions regarding car seats?
Is any one of those the ones that you can take it out and bring? That's the one?
That's this one right here. So this is an infant seat. Most people start out with one of these. So this goes rear facing until the child outgrows either the height or weight limit, usually between a year to 18 months, depending on how big the child is. Then you would graduate to one of these. This is a convertible seat, meaning this seat rides rear facing, and then it can turn around to go forward facing. And you may be able to keep a child in here from a couple of months until they're 4 years old. You just have to move the straps around. In this, I actually wrote this, so it's a little bit more detailed about the different types of seats. I really encourage you, if you're driving your grandkids around or you have to purchase seats for them, to take a look at this. It does get very confusing. There are many different seats, and this kind of explains it a little bit better, where you should be at each age range. I also included, everyone should have one of these. I included these because these are devices that make it a little bit easier for people who may be suffering from arthritis or may have difficulty gripping. These devices make it easier to work this. So this little red button right here is difficult for me to use. I can't imagine if someone had arthritis and they weren't able to push their thumb, how difficult that would be. So these assist with gripping. We have the Unbuckle Me, which is something you can grab like this. And then we have here the Buckle Booper, which is something you can push in. So I don't recommend any places to purchase these products, but if you did suffer from arthritis and you found it difficult to get your grandchild in and out of the car seat, these are products that may be able to assist you with that. In addition to the CarFit event that Karen had spoke to you about, we're also going to be offering car seat checks. So when you register for the CarFit event, you can also register to have your grandchild's car seat checked. Before you come to the event though, you're going to want to look at the seat and see if it's expired. Car seats will either have an expiration date on it, or it expires 6 years from the manufactured date. If a car seat doesn't have a label, you're not going to be able to find a technician that's willing to install it, because we don't know if we can guarantee whether or not that seat is safe. So just different things to keep in mind when you leave here today. But like I said, please register. Again, I have all of my contact information on the back of this pamphlet. So if you're not able to make the CarFit event, or you know your kids may not have their car seats installed correctly, you can have them give me a call. Not only do I host my own events at Cohen's, but I can give them a comprehensive list based on where they live of other local fitting stations. I know someone had said, maybe it was you, that you had gone to a police department. It's surprising, but there's very few police departments and fire departments on Long Island and in Queens that are certified. One fire department, and I can think of 5 police departments. So you want to make sure you're going to someone who is a technician that has taken the course, because even with all of that training, and I teach the technician course, there's still things that I don't know. I still will look at the manual for the car and the manual for the car seat, because they really do make it that confusing for everyone. So does anyone have any questions? Yes?
If you have an idea of the grandchild's height and weight beforehand, that's helpful if you don't know it. The flyer that I have has the AAA phone number. I'm holding both appointments so I can make sure that we can coordinate all of our appointments. So you can call that in, and if you know, this way we can look up your seat in advance. So if you have a Graco, blah, 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 that was from whatever year, we can look on the recall list to see if it's been recalled, and we can let you know in advance, that seat's been recalled, let me get another seat before you even come in. It's helpful. You don't have to, but it does help us out a little bit. Going back to getting the seats, if you're going to like places where you buy car seats, Jill mentioned the importance of getting your seat new, and that really is important. But if you go to like Toys R Us or Babies R Us or any place that you buy them, I don't want you to rely specifically on the salesperson's knowledge, because they're not car seat technicians. They're going to sell you the seat that, wow, I just sold this seat to 3 other people. It must be a great seat. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a great seat. It just means that they sold it, 3 other people picked it because it had a nice picture on the box. They're not certified technicians. If you have a question, what would work great in my car, we can answer that kind of question at the event next week also.
So different types might be better for different cars. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like there's some manufacturers that have huge bulky seats, and if you have 2 or 3 grandkids in a small back seat, we're not going to recommend that you would purchase that seat. And more expensive does not necessarily mean it's more safe. They all pass the same standards. Whether you spend $60 or you spend $600, they pass the same safety standards to get out onto the market.
Will both of you be for the event?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Any other questions? Does anyone else have any comments? Well, thank you all so much. Looking forward to seeing everyone at the event.